Hi everybody, welcome to this session on Windows and Microsoft Intune and a little bit about Autopilot as well. My name's Matt, I'm the Lords IT Services Lead based over in Redditch in Worcestershire, and I'm going to be showing you today what we've done to set up Intune and Autopilot and show you what we've done. I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert, so I'm going to say that out front. This is what we've done to get working. So our basic scenario was that we had the need to push out multiple devices out to the staff and students prior to the COVID-19 shutdown. We had lots of little devices, which were the ATA spin books. And they needed to go out. We had some that were originally set for pupils, and we wanted to set them up for staff. And obviously we need to manage them without them being on site as well. So traditionally we'd set up a laptop either using group policy to cache some logins so people can still log on. That wasn't really an option in this case. And we want to manage it over the internet. So what we did is we set up Intune pretty much overnight across something like 6 tenancies, and we set up these basic profiles. I'm going to take you through those steps today. We've got the questions up on the side on the live Q&A. Jake, my colleague, is there, and he's answering them as best as he can. I'll try and keep an eye on it in there as well, and I'm sure Jake will nudge me if there's something in there that I need to answer in the show. So in front of you, you should hopefully see the on Sensei. This is an Intune managed device. This is my test device that I've got back there. If I turn on my webcam for a minute, I'll show you what that device looks like. Excuse looking at me and my hair. Unfortunately, that is down to the hairdresser's not being open. This is an ATA spin book, and this is the one that we use now across multiple different schools for both staff and students. So this is what a lot of them have got. So Intune managed. So it's a Celeron processor, an Intel Pentium Silver in there, and depending on the make and model, it's got a touch screen, which people are really liking. It's fairly robust. Got some good connectivity on it as well. And one of the reasons I like this compared to some of the other ones is that it's got a network socket on there, which a lot of the other ones, the Lenovo and such like versions of these haven't got. It also does a full 360-degree spin, which is quite useful. Comes with a pen as well, and these are about £300 a device. Okay, so if I switch back to the other view now, hopefully you'll see that. I don't know if I put my webcam live then, so apologies if I didn't. If you didn't see that, just let us know in the comments, and I'll put it in there that I didn't do it, and I'll show you again. So somebody has asked, and I was going to say, oh, you can't see the webcam. Okay, let me do that again. Sorry, I'll send that live. So here's my webcam. Here I am in all my beauty. And this is the device here. So this is the Intune managed device that we're talking about. And as I say, it's nice, light, can flip around completely into this way. And got about 13-hour battery life and touch screen in there as well. So it's quite good. Okay, so we'll get my ugly mug off the screen now and go back to this screen. So this is my setup. I've got that laptop, and I've got which is on this window here, and then I've also obviously got our login to the I've got the login into the actual Office 365 and device endpoint on there as well. So somebody asked about licensing, and I was going to touch on licensing. So as users standard across ours, they've all got the A1 license and the Intune add-on. Now Intune, as far as I understand it, and we all know that you know what Microsoft licensing is like. So the Intune licenses, I believe it's about 45p a month per staff member. It's free for students. And these devices that we've got set up can be used by staff or students because we've got shared mode set up on them, so anybody can log in onto them. We have P1 set up for MFA, so we whitelist the IPs of our individual schools so that when they go on site they don't have to use MFA and they do from home. But because these are Azure joint devices, they don't have to use MFA on these. But you do have to, interestingly, when you're joining them to the domain. So I'm just going to give you a look at what a user can expect to see on there. And so the users log in with their Office 365 detail. Right. So I'm not Megan, this is my daughter who's been a test account and she's been testing out the device for me. You'll see that we've got the custom wallpaper on the login and the custom login screen as well. Yeah, just a quick note about that, you can only set them if you're using the edgy version of Windows 10. It don't work on Pro or anything like that. So once they've logged on, you can see here, so we've got Office 365 Pro Plus deployed. And working on there nicely. We've also deployed through the Intune panel the Microsoft Edge, the latest version, which is an incredibly good browser if you don't already use it. And obviously Teams is loading up straight away. Device has got a microphone and a webcam in it, so a lot of people have been able to do those Teams meetings straight away. We've also pushed out different links which we can do. These were done via a PowerShell script, but actually you can do them natively within Intune. I found out afterwards. In terms of what's locked down, so we've got a custom start layout, which is pushed out via Intune. I'll show you how to do that, which is just you get the XML in a normal way as you would do punching it out to any other device on a normal network, and then you upload it to Intune. It's not locked down a lot, so if you go into settings, there are a few things that are locked down. You can't get into, you can get into some of the stuff, but some of them more, such as the different user accounts and stuff like that, some of that is locked down a bit more that you can't get into. Trying to find something that you can't get into and change, but some of it is locked down and you can't change it, and it'll come up a hidden or managed by your organisation in there as well. Quite unobtrusive, not had any complaints from any staff members about it. So things that we install in the image, so it's just a blank Windows 10 image. When you start Windows 10, and I might actually show you if people are finding it easier how we join it to it from scratch. It's got the internet access on there as well, and the Wi-Fi built in. So when they go to any of our schools into the office, they've got that built in as well on there. There's also no local storage, so other than the downloads folder, so that's all locked down as well. So they can't get into any of that. Obviously, when they open up Word or Excel, it will automatically log them into their account, and then they can see from there, obviously all their OneDrive and everything like that. Have you managed to get Teams not to all start when deploying with Intune, currently deploying with Microsoft Office? No, I haven't tried, in my defence though. So I haven't tried how to do that yet. Okay, so they still have to sign in if they haven't already. But once they're signed in, it remembers who they are every time they log in, and they don't have to put a password in. Good. And obviously I haven't given my daughter the correct license to use that yet. So they have to have the Pro Plus license obviously on there and an Intune license installed. So let's jump over to the actual Office 365 and show you how to get where you need to go. So if we jump back to Office 365, I'll show you through here as well. Okay, so if you don't already know, you jump over to the Admin Center and you jump over Show All and go down to the Endpoint Manager. When you're on the Endpoint Manager, It's actually really simple. So first of all, if you go into devices, now the devices are, when they're joined, the best way to search for them is actually using the serial number. Interestingly, you can see here that some people manage to auto-enroll themselves onto their own devices. I'm going to show you how to avoid that, because otherwise you're in the same situation as us, where you've got a couple of people who've managed to enroll their home desktops or laptops into your Intune, and that takes a lot of explaining. But you can see down here, if I find the device that I'm currently on, and I'm going to guess it's this one. Let me just check. And let's go back. Actually, we'll search for it to make sure we're on the right one. So F100. So here we go. So it doesn't matter who enroll these devices, by the way. They just need to have permission to be able to enroll devices, and you do that by doing a permissions based on the enrollment, which I'll show you how to do as well. So when I go into devices, these are the ones that I've already joined. Quite quickly, I can see here the device name. I can see who enrolled it very easily. It says primary user, makes no difference at all as far as I'm concerned on there about what they can do and what they can't do. And they're compliant. That means they meet all our security stuff and they are encrypted, and I'll show you how to set that up as well. You'll also see on here that you've got the operating system, the device, the exact device model, and the serial number on here. Now, so the key thing, autopilot is the part of the an enrollment method. So the idea is for autopilot is you get a document that you upload into Intune, basically, which identifies the devices, and as soon as those devices are turned on, they check in with Microsoft over the web. They know that they are part of the whatever tenancy that they need to be, because they're auto enrolled into it. So you have to request that from the supplier, and not all suppliers will do it. Okay, so you need to check that when you're buying devices, and that just means when they're turned on straight out of the box, that they don't need to worry about setup at all, as long as they log in with their username and password and everything like that. We don't name devices and just use the default name. That's right. We don't. We could if we wanted to, but there's really no need to. As you saw earlier on our, we've got Senso, so it shows us who's logged on. That's rolled out via Intune as well, and we can search via the serial number, which is on every device as well. And we do it that way. There's no real benefit to renaming them something specific, especially as these can be used by anybody. So yeah, that's one of the questions. So I've got some options at the top here. So my first one is to retire. So when you retire a system, it's about remove all the company data on the device. It will not remove the user's personal data, but obviously on our setup, they can't store anything local. The device will no longer be managed by Intune or no longer be able to access corporate resources. So if the device is joined to Azure Active Directory, you can't do it. You can't do a retire. It's only if they're in the not in the Azure Active Directory, just in Azure, and it won't remove any of the software. Okay, so it's important to know that any software you put on there as well. Wiping a device is also supported. So if I hit wipe, I can factory reset it. So if I keep enrollment state and associated user account, that will roll back to the original clean install and then re-enroll it with the same details. So if you've got somebody working, you know, anywhere that they like on the and the system's not working or a particular feature's not working, if you wipe it there, that'll just literally comes up on the screen, logs them out, wipes the device, and then they can log back in with a fresh install. Really handy. And this one here is you select this option. Continue to wipe even if the device loses power. It gives you quite an ominous warning there, prevents some Windows 10 devices from starting up again. So I'd probably read more information on that before you do it. You can delete it out of there. You'd want to retire it first to do that. Now, syncing, it's there is a sync schedule for Intune devices, and I don't know off the top of my head, but hopefully I'll be able to find it for you. I probably need to do that. So for the first part of the syncing, it's a lot more. It syncs a lot quicker for the first 24 hours than what it does thereafter. Afterwards, it only does it for every 24 hours. Let me just have a look. Okay, so yeah, I don't think anybody uses Windows phones anymore, but let's just have a look and see what that details there. So yeah, when the device enrolls, it's every 3 minutes to 30 minutes, and then standard, it's every 8 hours. It will check for a sync as well. So you can use that as a guide, but you can also force a sync by using the sync button. So sync is the Intune equivalent of a GP update. Okay, so it's really useful to get in there and be able to do a GP update of sorts on devices, again, without having to be there anywhere near it. And we'll set one of them off now. So checking with the devices. If you then click see more, you can see the last time that the device was checked in. So mine was 10 minutes ago. Today it was in there, so it's quite easy to see as well. You can restart it automatically. Fresh start, so it will remove all preloaded apps, and then you can choose whether to retain the user data on the device as well. So you need to look at what's the best version for you, whether to retire, to wipe, or to do a fresh start. Autopilot resets removes everything on there basically, and original management settings and everything like that on the device. So you need to be careful about which one of those that you're using. And these two here are for Bitdefender, because obviously Bitdefender, here you can see that these are very, very built in. The Windows Defender and everything is very, very built in. So you can run a scan there from it, and you can also update the intelligence on there as well. So that's a quick overview. I can then go and change my primary user and have a look at everything with devices category on it. It's also important to know the difference between personal and corporate ownership in Intune. I'd love to tell you what that difference is, but it's important, so probably worth looking that up at some point when you do it. You can also rename it from here as well, and then you can jump in and get all the information that you need on the device. So you can see the hardware, you can see what apps that it's got installed and what versions that it's got on there. You can also then see its compliance, so I can see in the built-in device compliance policy, I've got an error, and I can have a look and see right into what that error coded means. Okay, and obviously that means a lot to me. You'd be able to research that and find what that means. So the configuration shows what policies are applied to it. So on these ones, these are all the policies that have been applied. It shows you if there's a conflict. If there is a conflict, you can click through and see which part of the policy has failed to put a conflict on there. So the security intelligence update interval is conflicted there with 2 other profiles. So it's interesting to see that you can go right into that detail and see of it, and you can find out exactly why your settings aren't being set. So I'll talk you through in a minute. There's a few policies that we set on there with specifics in there, so I can show you those as well. Again, this is just how I do it. Whether it's the right way or wrong way, who knows. If I go down to endpoint security information, it uses the ATP baseline, which is a configuration that's been set up by default, and we've kept it on there as well. You've also got the option to come down to recovery keys, so you can find your BitLocker recovery keys on there. Okay, and that's really important because I know a lot of people ask like where they've gone and whatever. You can see that's in there as well. Lastly, the managed apps. So these are the devices that we've pushed out, and this is a bit of a test machine, and we can see which ones have installed and which one is waiting for, in this case, waiting for an update or waiting to be installed. So a lot of information there over an individual device that you can see, a lot more than what you can get from Active Directory in one pretty quick way there. So that's really quite good as well. So that's looking through devices and how you search through your devices. And you can see here, when I've got my devices, I've got my overview, I can go into my all devices, I can see it by platform, because don't forget Intune's multi-platform on there as well. So I've got my enrollment, and these are all my different enrollment options as well for everything on there. So the one that you'll want to go to and set up, I'll come back to in a minute. Once I run through some of the options. You've got your policies down here as well, and help and support. The apps panel is where you deploy software. So how you just deploy a range of software. Now you can deploy MSIs, and I see Dan saying that he did one today, and then he did a refresh a sync using the device, and it installed it straight away. My experience as well is it installs them really, really quickly, especially when you run a sync as well. It's very, very quick to pick them up on there as well. So you can add one, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute as well. And then you've got the endpoint security. So this is where you've got your security baselines, where you set what the minimum they are to have. Okay, and we'll go through that as well. Reports, we can do reports. So users, so all our users on the network, we give them the Intune license, and obviously AAD joined users. So on there, they're very, it's very quick to see who's logged in and done stuff. But other than assigning them the Azure license, we haven't done any other setup on our users at all. What we are going to be looking to is using groups for users a bit better, so that we can pinpoint. At the moment, all of our settings are set to all users and all devices, because it was quick to get it out. We obviously want to change that a bit, so it's a bit of a different log on when you're an IT support. You don't have all the restrictions and lockdowns on there. So by default, there's no local admin, as far as I can tell. It is anybody who's an administrator of Office 365 who can be an administrator of the device. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. But if you've got a policy assigned to all users and all devices, then that is still assigned to the admin when they go on as well. So I'm going to show you basically what we set up for a default system. So the first thing we went into is go into devices and went down to enroll devices, and we went down to enrollment restrictions. Now this is really important, because this is what we didn't do. And basically we've got the here, so allow enrollment for specific users as a policy, and the default for all users. So the allow enrollment for specific users basically means on the Windows MDM, okay, for these groups of people, which are Office 365 groups, that they're the ones allowed to enroll. So anybody in those specific groups are able to enroll. Anybody else has got a block on them. So if we go back to the previous one and we go into the all users policy, go into the properties of that one, so we can see that all users aren't able to enroll devices. It's only people who are in that other group. So very, very important that to do very much to be able to put that into there. Sorry, I'm trying to read messages as well. It's very important that you set that up. Otherwise, when they log into Office and they click the button on Office to use that account everywhere, it enrolls them into Intune and locks out their devices. At least that's where we think that happened from. Yeah, Terry said he's rolled out a local admin user using config profile. I'm sure you can. It's just we didn't. So again, I don't have all the answers on that, but yeah, you're right. You can easily push that out there as well. So by default, we create a couple of policies. So the main one being the general settings. And there's a couple of other ones on here that because this is our main testing area that we're here, but the main one is this one here, the general settings. So when you go to create a profile, you've got different options. So first of all, you have to choose your right platform, but then you've got to try the different profile types. Now, the one that you're going to want to have most settings on is down here in the device restrictions, this one here. And that is going to be the first one that you're going to want to be sent in my thoughts. on there as well. You can also do the administrative templates one as well. So this Laws IT one and this general setting ones are the two that we set up. So I'll show you what we've done for those, and so just so you can see how we've done it. And I'm happy to hear if anybody's got any hints and tips on it as well about what might be better than what we've done it. So here you can see that we've got 68 devices enrolled, 27 succeeded and 40 pending. This is quite slow to update because from what we can see, all the devices have picked up all the settings. So if we go into properties, and here we can see everything that's set around here. So the first thing you set, as you saw on that page, is what devices, what platform. So, but I'm going to go into the configuration settings and show you what's there, so you can have a look at that as well. So interestingly, they've changed the layout of this recently since we've done it. I remember seeing this on Twitter, that this is now done slightly differently. So generally speaking, we don't touch anything to do with the App Store, and don't touch anything to do with cellular and configuration. So if we go down to the control panel, we block some access here into like gaming and other stuff. If a setting is set elsewhere in, say, and you can change that setting in the control panel, that will automatically be blocked out, like you saw where it had that information on there where it was blocked out. So for example, personalization isn't blocked on here, but changing the wallpaper in the background is, because it's set elsewhere in the setup. So you can see here, if you hover over the eye, it tells you what it does, and not all great information on there, but you can see you can control a lot of stuff there as well. So on a display one, that wasn't the right one that I was doing, the lock screen experience. So here's where you can set your lock screen picture. You have to host it. When you hosted it, that means you can quickly update that with a new one when you've uploaded. You can change different settings on here for the notifications and everything like that, but we've gone fairly light touch on these. We've blocked removable storage, and we have left pretty much everything else on there that they can do on there. One of the other ones you might want to do is block manual unenrollment as well, so they can't unenroll the device from Intune themselves. You have to do that from the panel. Okay, so the Edge browser, you can set in here all the different start pages that you want. So we've got the Office 365 homepage and our help desk in here as well. And we don't let them change it from that as well. And we can set all those sort of settings. That's one of the reasons why we use an Edge on there, and it's a good browser, but we can change the search, so who they search and default search engine quite easily in here as well. And then if you come down, you've got the additional privacy and security and settings on here as well. If you jump down to the personalization, you can set the desktop background picture. Again, as I say, you can only do that on enterprise or education. So make sure that you're installing that right one at the start. At the privacy side of things, you can put people in or configure that or not, and you can go down for all these individual ones as well. You can change the start menu, as I said. So this is our start menu XML, so you can upload that into there as well, and roll that out to people. And obviously these policies can be like an Active Directory for specific groups, so you can have a different student and a different staff start menu on there as well, and you can control what they can and what they can't access on those screens as well. Coming down to Windows Defender, obviously that's, you might roll out antivirus as well. We haven't. We've just rolled out Microsoft Windows Defender. It reports to us on here. It's really effective, and we found for what they can, as they can't really install anything locally, and they can only download files, they can't do anything with them, then the risk is obviously quite minimalised at the moment. And even if they did, it's a case of wiping the machine using Intune to go back to it. So you've got to pick your battles, and within a 2 week, well, less than a 2 week turnaround, we didn't want to work out how to get Sophos onto there. So the general settings is where we've changed most of those things. The other policy that we've changed is the laws. This one here, Laws IT, the administrative setting ones on it. I say that, I wonder what it's got in it because I haven't applied to it. So obviously it wasn't that one. Oh, actually, just before I forget, when we go back to the configuration profiles, so this general settings, you'll see if you go to properties, and you've got this scope tags, okay, down the bottom here. Okay, that's great. So scope you want to keep the default, but the included groups is where you want to assign who it goes to. So if you jump onto these, you've got all users and all devices, which is what we've done, or you can obviously choose selected groups on there as well. So let me just see what other questions to come on. Yes, I am recording this as well. No, they're not domain joined devices at all. These are simply, you turn on the Windows 10 machine and you join it, where it asks you to put all the emails in. So when you install it with Windows 10 Education, you go through the initial setup, and then it comes up asking you to log in with an account, an Office 365 account, and so you log in there with somebody who's got enrollment rights, and it will do the rest. You don't have to touch it again. With Autopilot, okay, so when you put that in onto it, you don't even have to do that. As soon as it gets to that point checking for that email address, it will join it to it, so you don't even have to open the box when you give it to people. So that's really quite cool as well. So hopefully that's a few little questions on there as well. If we go back to devices though and go down to the down to the security, the compliance policies, and this is our appliance policy. Oh, not that one. Should have used one of the ones I've done later on. Where are we? You also see, so here we've got a Wi-Fi policy on there as well, so that's how you put in the Wi-Fi details. Also this shared devices policy as well. So this is if you want anybody able to log on to any device, you want to enable shared PC mode. So the shared devices property is a default group, and you'll see some of the other ones there as well. They're all default groups. But we wanted everything to be a shared PC mode so anybody can log into it. So these default policies for Edu and other such like are the ones that are there. You've also got this edition upgrade policy. Now this is quite useful. So if you've got a bunch of devices which aren't running Windows 10 Edu, you can edit this here, and you can choose to upgrade it to Windows 10 Education, say. If it's on S mode, switch out of it, and then you put in your product key there so that it will be able to pick that up onto it. So if somebody enrolls theirs into ours, it will automatically change it to Windows 10 Education with that product key, which is a Mac key, and goes out like that as well. So Jason's just asked, how do you connect to local on-site resources like SIMs and printers? So you can do one or two things. You can do a policy with the script. So these are all scripts, PowerShell scripts, where you can run that. I know back to the old days, but there's also a lot of movement that they've done. We haven't actually had to do this yet because I haven't gone back into school with them. And actually, I don't want them printing. I would rather them use an Office 365, but I know that's not going to happen. But what we actually want, what you can actually do is set the printers in the device config. So if we go into configuration profiles and go to general settings, go back into properties. I'm not sure I like this new layout that they've got on here. But, I found the other one quite user friendly when I realised what I was doing, like on the sliding doors ones. In terms of SIMs, yeah, we don't install SIMs on these. They don't need them. They can log into remote desktop to get SIMs from home. Obviously, there's no other way of them being able to do it in school. These aren't to replace domain join devices in our user scenario, so we haven't had to worry about too much about rolling out SIMs, and I wouldn't on here. So printers, you can import them and using their host network names. Setting does not support shared printers. That doesn't sound good. And you can obviously set the default printer and everything on there and add new printers. You can allow them to add new printers as well. Or you can stop that on here as well. But there was some talk, and I'd have to look into it, about Microsoft doing some quite big work on making it easy in Intune to access printers in a multitude of different ways. So that's something that we'll have to get around to and find out about. So if we just jump across to the end, I'm just trying to show you these, trying to remember where. the endpoint security in here. So let's go into view security baselines. So let's jump into this one here. I can't remember where it was. So when you go into, oh, that's not what I wanted. Profiles. Somewhere on here, you set on your devices the security, and it's got to, I thought it was in compliance here. We've got the Windows 10 one. It says it's not assigned to anybody, but let's jump in anyway. So here you can see we require BitLocker. We require a password to unlock it. We require them to be encrypted. We require the firewall to be on, the antivirus, the anti-spyware all to be on, and we require Defender to be on. We block simple passwords, 10 digits for password length, but that doesn't really matter because I have to use Office 365 login, and then about things about, you know, when they log them out and everything on there as well. So if they are non-compliant, you can set a multitude of different actions to take. At the moment, we just get it to flag it up to us. You can get it to email you and know where that is, and we can see that that's not assigned to anybody at the moment, but it should be just put onto everybody. The required BitLocker, so the end user view of that is when they jump onto the device, if BitLocker is not there, it'll tell them that it needs to do it. They say yes, and it goes in the background. If they don't do it, it gets alerted to you as a non-compliant device. Again, the risk isn't huge because you've only got the downloaded files, and then if they're working on cloud provision, and obviously there isn't a lot of stuff locally, but I'd still rather them to be built in, and that's actually at a device level. We had some that one of my colleagues was rolling out don't have a local TPT chip or something like that in them, so they have to set a username and password to go on. That can't be done via Intune. That has to be done via the actual traditional route of getting a technician to do it, and do it that way, and where they store the codes on there, but it will then show as being compliant. So I guess you still know that it's encrypted going out, and you can obviously monitor that as well. So moving down into the other elements that you can control. So you can do your configuration profiles, which is what we've just done, and the scripts, you can upload a PowerShell on there. So this is a BitLocker here that was trying to sort out some problems. And then we've got these where they create the individual logos, and then we've got a script which will activate, because we were finding that lots of them weren't activated. So we've done a PowerShell script on there to activate those devices. You can also choose which Windows 10 update you want it to be, and on there you can, so when you go into that, you can say which channel it is. If we go into properties, you can say what you want it to update. So here it just doesn't do product updates, just does Windows drivers updates at the moment. And then you can choose the user experience, checks and everything on that. It's not something that I've gone into to make massive changes on at the moment, obviously in the timeline that we need to get them out. But as the lockdown goes on, obviously we need to have a look there and see about making sure that they're getting some product updates as well. But they should get those updates within 365 Pro Plus still, but I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So you can create an additional feature profile to update for Windows 10 feature updates. So that's like your big feature updates. And I've never done this before, but let's jump into it. So you can say, yeah, to deploy Windows 1909. Was there not a setting to enable BitLocker? Why did you use PowerShell instead? There is, but it doesn't work on all devices we found. So we're finding a lot of them weren't doing BitLocker. So we've got a backup of doing the script as well. Haven't had time to really look into why at the moment. I just wanted to get them to be running that script and BitLockered. But there is a setting in the baseline to force them to do it as well. And some of them did it. For example, Surface devices did it straight away, but not the Acer devices. So that's interesting to note. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I just don't know what they are. So we've already talked about the enrollment restrictions, making sure that that's right, and only certain users can enroll devices on there as well. And didn't want to go into that because I don't know what that does. So that's everything on here that you do. Now, in terms of enrollment, the only thing I can suggest here as well is that we don't touch Windows Hello for Business. It's pain enough, but on the enrollment status page, I turn this on. So when users are doing it, it tells them what they're doing. And we increase this limit here, so the error when installation takes place longer than a specified number of minutes. I don't know what it was when we was doing it, but it took quite a while for them to set up. It's got a lot quicker now. So either we've changed the setting or something like that, but we had to change it from 60 to 120. Otherwise, we was getting this message down below here. In addition, we've turned on what was the other stuff? So they can't use the device until it's enrolled and everything's set up correctly, and we don't let them use the device unless it's set up correctly, basically, as those devices say down there. But really small failure rate on install. I mean, tiny, if there even was one. You need to make sure that you've got your CNAME validated for your domain. So if you've got your name servers pointed to Office 365, that's set up automatically. If there's somewhere else and just pointing to the 365, then you're going to have to make sure you've got everything set up in there correctly. Yeah, as I say, just avoid the Windows Hello for Business on there, because it sounds really good at the time, but it's not. Moving on to apps then, and how you roll out and install apps. So we can see here that we've got these are lots of different ones here that we haven't put out, so you can see if they're assigned or not. Oh, that's good, you can't sort by that column, but you can see here if they're assigned or not. So if I wanted to assign an app, I'd click add, and then I can jump through here and I can see, like, you know, if I was using other ones, all these other stores, I can go into store here, and apparently I can just copy and paste the URL into app information. That's not strictly true, because I tried that and that didn't work. So if anybody knows the answer to that one, I'll be glad to hear. So Office 365 Suite has got its own stuff. So you select that one, go through to the next stage, and you can control things such as what versions put out as well. So if we go to next, we've got all that. You can choose which Office apps are pushed out with it there, so that's quite useful to see, and what version is 3264-bit. Remove other versions, update channel as well. You can change that to a higher level of updates as well. And you can use shared computer activation down there as well, which we do, and you can accept the software licenses as well. Oh, jump back too far there. I don't know if anybody else finds that I'm always jumping back too far on these screens on here. I'm not realising that I'm pressing go. The other one that we set up and did was Microsoft Edge. So with Edge, you can put all the information in there. It's quite easy. All that's in there. You can choose which stable to use and which operating system default language that you want to use. I suggest you go for English, and then you just assign it to the individual groups that you want to assign it to on there as well. So go back to all apps. And then the other one that you can do down here, which you can put your web links on, your built-in apps and everything like that as well. But the one that you probably want to look at is the line of business app. So this is where you'd upload your MSI to it. So we use this for Senso. So what I do is I'll show you the Senso actual rollout. So if you click on the Senso, you can see we've got it on 82 of our devices. And so it installs it, it puts our license key in, and it also puts the site code in, and then you can quickly see there that's rolled out straight away. So we upload the MSI and that gets pushed out as soon as people turn on the devices. So at this point, you should have a device that when they turn it on is enrolled into Intune. So it's completely managed by Intune. That has got Office on it, that has got Senso on it, or similar, that is protected by antivirus, that is BitLockered and ready to go. That you've customized the internet, you've blocked access to different elements of it as well, and that will give you an overall, you know, the overall easy to use. You know, for most people, that's all they need to use in our schools as well. But you have these ones that are web links, so these will just put a web link on there to a desktop. That's not really what you want, especially the Office Online one. I believe, speaking to our colleague Martin, it's a pain in the ass to get Microsoft Education Edition on there and be licensed for that as well. But yeah, you can put pretty much anything you want in here through through adding the software on there. It's a lot easier than what I thought it would be to achieve that as well. So it's really quick and easy to do to get your basic software out on them. And to be honest with you, the policies that we're going to be rolling out, the device we're going to be rolling out, don't need to manage and have the software on that a traditional device would have. Lots of things over the internet these days. Office 365 does 80% of the work. So, you know, if you go down to policies for Office apps as well, this is a bit, we haven't obviously created one yet here, but you can start getting involved. Just use that one, and then we go down to configure policies, and this is where you can make the same kind of changes that you can do in group policy. So you've got all these different options down here. Not as many, granted. Well, I say not as many, sorry, 2081. That's probably enough, to be honest with you. So a bit of Googling to find out one that you want. But yeah, you can go through them, set your trusted locations, set everything else like that. So one of my big concerns was, I won't be able to have the same level of control that I've got at on Active Directory and for group policy, but I have on selective stuff as well. So that's useful to see. I can also give out ebooks, but I think that's on the Apple one actually. So ignore that I'm talking about that because that's Apple VPP. So that is a basic introduction to how we have rolled out our devices. As I said, you know, it's probably not right. It's probably very much quick start going. There's a lot more that we can go to get into it, but it works for us, and we've managed to get all these devices out, and we can see them all really easily in our Intune. Sorry, in the Senso. We can manage them via Intune. We can push out software easily to them. We know that people are logged on using their stuff, and they're all here, all joining the right side in Senso really easily. So it's, yeah, very quick and easy to do. So what I'll do now is I'll just answer some of the questions that are coming through on the Q&A. So if you've got any to put them in coming through, then ask them now, basically, whilst I'm here. So notice that there's no compliancy policy assigned to device, and it marks it as compliant. I switched this off by default. That makes sense. That's a good shout. Are you using this to domain join devices? No, but you can do that apparently. I haven't read enough into it, but you can both be an Intune managed and domain joined as well. So it will pick up group policies when it's on site. So that could get around some of your SIMs and some of your other issues as well. Can you push out extensions for Edge? I don't know, but Jake says it is, and so we'll trust what Jake's saying on there as well. Are you going to be looking to use this as day-to-day management when you're back to normal? I like the fact that Jake's answered that. So yeah, when we're looking at using this going forward, we've got ideas of how we're going to roll that out. And actually at first schools, because we're 3-tier here, so primary level, we are going to be looking at rolling out devices just with the basics on them. So they'll log in with their Office 365 and they can use PowerPoint, Office 365, and we know they're protected very easily. It's a very cheap, easy device for them to use with a touchscreen and everything like that. We have rolled it out to staff. They're going to keep these devices. The staff are definitely going to keep these devices going forward. And we are, Lords IT, as a bit of advertisement, we are now able to offer a student scheme, student device scheme. So basically the school leases the devices, the students pay, well, the parents probably pay for the scheme. That includes full insurance for lost, theft, or accidental damage. That's £50 excess, but they don't have to pay that the first time they break it, only from then onwards. And they basically pay about £10 a month. The devices will be rolled into Intune, have safeguard and software on them, and then they'll be able to use them at home for £10–15 a month. So that's quite useful to have for the students. So we do think the majority of the student devices, mobile devices, will be using this. Obviously, they're not going to be sat in school to be updated anytime soon. especially thinking about, so this is the only way really to do it. There is no other way to put everything else onto there as well. So let me just go down and have a look at some of the other questions that have come in. How many devices do you push out using this method? It's about 200 to 300 in the space of a week. Where do you source the, these moving quickly. Where do we source them from? My man is Shane at Novatech. I'll always give him a shout out. So Shane Grove at Novatech. He is a legend, and we brought most of the UK stock, but there is more coming, different makes and models. But Shane is the guy who can get them. But we are looking to put in an order of nearly 2,000 in the next few weeks, which will be a custom order. So if anybody wants them, then we can all put them in together and we can resell them to you. So that's right. Do you keep these on separate Wi-Fi networks or the LAN Wi-Fi? So at our schools, we've generally got a guest network and a device network. Got some first, middle schools. We've got bring your own device at some of the secondary. So they will be on the device network because they're managed devices, so they can go on there, and we're confident of what they are. Do you use SCSCM with this? No, no, I haven't used Cloud Management Gateway or anything like that. You've just seen everything that I've done with it. I don't know why I'd need anything else. I'd be happy to hear if people think that thing on there. Do you think this is a viable solution to going as serverless as possible in the future? Yes. Yeah. In fact, we're using our MPLS across multiple schools through our own broadband product, which you can find out more at lordsit.org.uk. Where we've got that MPLS set up, we are reducing our server estate to central Active Directory, centralized servers for everything, and then at schools they're going to have these devices. They probably will have a server still for SIMs at the moment at each location, but you know, I had priced this fairly on for the server that we put in there, which is fully SSD, which will basically have SIMs and a replica DC. Is, you know, $1.5 almost. So do you think this is a viable solution to go and, I've already answered that one. Terry, from a device point of view, do you log it in to enroll the device and then this deploys the app? Yeah, so yes, so the end user, I can video what it's like for them, but literally it will come up when it's ready. It will install all the apps it needs to that are deployed to it when it joins. And then it will, when you log in, it will need to do some more stuff, and it will just pop up unobtrusively from the menu bar and say, oh, you need to do this if it's like encryption, or we're rolling out software, you need to restart now. And it also will only deploy Windows updates outside of active hours, which I think by default are 8 till 5. So by the time it reaches users at the login screen, yeah, absolutely. And if you've got autopilot, then it will just go through that setup. And the user can just log in when the device is ready. Obviously a lot we kept in and restarted a couple of times, and we logged in just to test that we could log in with a new system, but I'd confidently push them out now, and without being by them. And the other thing that I found out is really quick to do, and you can actually do this remotely as well, to an extent, is you can repair, when you go to repair the Windows 10 install on any device, as long as it's an Edu device, so Windows 10 Edu on it, you can just repair it, and in that setup, then it will ask you for an email address. So you put the email address in there, and it will join it to Intune that way. So you don't actually even have to do a clean install. It does do a clean install, but you don't have to have any media with you for it to do that. So that's quite a powerful tool as well. So I don't know if is there anything else that I've missed. Are you just rolling a basic laptop out with touchscreen? Are you just rolling a basic laptop out with touchscreen? Yes, I don't know if you've come in late, Rob, but yeah, we're just rolling out the Acer devices, but the HP have got them, and others as well. I'm not a fan of Apple devices in education. They can't be safeguarded effectively. I'm a DSL, and I wouldn't, you can't track what people are doing. We've got full sensor on this, so that's great. Where do you source the platform devices again? Novatech.co.uk, Shane.Grove at novatech.co.uk, or you can give them a call on 02 392 322 503. Yeah, I do know his number off by heart, but he's a very good guy. Yeah, already said we're looking to use as day-to-day management. Can you push out extensions for Edge? Yeah, I've been through all those ones. Are there any other ones down here that I haven't done? Have you used a company portal app for staff to self-involve work laptops? I've got it on my phone, and I've got it on my phone. I can't see a benefit of doing it. You know, that's what autopilot would be for. Or we could allow those particular users that we give a device to enroll the device themselves. So yeah, there's another question here. Using Cloud Mapper, do you redirect their folders to OneDrive for your domain drawing devices so they can access their files saved to desktop, etc. on these managed Intune devices? No. We're trying to get Cloud Mapper to work on them. It's not going very well. We're also trying to get the OneDrive app to work on them. It's not going very well. We believe that's because we turn off local storage. So I'm pretty sure if I turn local storage back on, it would work nicely. But I don't really think I want to do that. Obviously, through Office 365 programs, Office 365 Pro Plus, they open and edit documents in there. So they don't really go into their OneDrive folder for anything else because there's no other software on the devices. So they're going to open up one of the Office programs to edit a program, to edit a thing, or they go on the internet to open up the files that way. I agree, it'd be really nice to have the OneDrive mapper or the OneDrive or the OneDrive mapper on there, and we're working onto that. So when I got a solution, I'll update it on the ANME. How are driver updates and things handled? That's in the update policy that you saw on there. You can tell it to do Windows updates, and it will do all the drivers itself, and it will do Windows updates if you allow it for certain stuff. But are they student proof? I hope so. Yes, they are. They are student proof. So yeah, I hope that is as well. Yes, they are. So would you use Intune to manage a school full of desktops with additional IT and facilities machines and back office staff in finance? Example would be 1,002 students, 120 and 60 and 650 laptops, desktops. It's a good question. I probably wouldn't actually. No, I can't see a benefit of switching away from Active Directory at the moment that works. If I was doing it from scratch, maybe, but no, I can't see a reason why I wouldn't use Active Directory in that situation. I'm a big believer in, you only do what you only change what you need to change. If you've got an Active Directory, and I spoke to somebody about this a bit actually, and they agreed, you'd only change the things that you need to change. And there is no, if you've got, we've got a really good WTT and set up WDS and MDT set up going, zero touch install. So we've got no, in a classroom based scenario, we can rebuild them really quickly. There's no need to change that, it works. Rick, pulling keys off hinges. This one here has got a military rating on it, of a certain grade. If you go to the website, I'll tell you. We haven't been able to pull anything off. I'm sure you can if you try. But if on that device scheme, which we're doing, that would be covered for accidental damage. I don't, in terms of hinges, we have had these rolled out, by the way, in lots of schools before we bought them for staff. So we've had them rolled out in a few first schools and everything like that. And we haven't had any fail as far as I'm aware. So do you pay for this as a per device or all users? I'm fairly sure Intune is per user 45p, but I'll find out. Was that the equivalent of a mic drop? Yes, it was the equivalent, and it's not come back on yet, so we'll see how that works. Can you remove all the unwanted tabs to come to the new devices? Yeah. So how long have you been using Asus Spins? Do you find them rugged enough, or have you not had them long enough yet? Okay. How long have we had them? Probably over a year now. In some schools. So we've rolled them out in high, which is primary, secondary, and first, which is primary, and middle schools, and we love them. We love them to support them and manage them. They're really, really good devices. They're, in cost. When we've done initial costs, we've gotten under 300 quid a device. with a 3-year warranty. And it does still work, by the way. They are really, really good devices. As I say, Lenovo do a version, and HP do a version, Dell do a version. But when I went to bet and looked at all of them, I was more than happy with this one. It did everything that I needed it to do. And we haven't had any complaints. I did a feedback survey with the staff the other day, the ones that we pushed them out to get their idea from them. So it was something like 50 staff who responded to it, and the vast majority were very, very positive about it. A few mentioned the small screen size, but you have to speak to them, you know, what the device is for. This is to move in and out of meetings, in and out of working from home, back into school. It's not there to do detailed Excel spreadsheets on. So, you know, the great thing with using Intune and Office 365 is it's device agnostic. So you choose the right device for the user's needs. We've Intuned Surfaces, we've Intuned really old Novatech laptops, we've Intuned the Aces, we've Intuned other items. So that's our preferred device. But generally speaking, you can Intune anything, you know, PCs, you know, so you can do anything like that as well. So. Okay, just looking at the remaining questions, I don't think there's any questions that I haven't answered at the moment. Let's have a look. Jake's company put no. So this will go up onto the to our YouTube channel. You can get to it by lawsit.videos. I'll post the link into the ANME portal as well. If you're not on the ANME and you work in IT, in education, I'll heartily recommend it to go in there and meet new people and organise events like this. If you found it useful, let me know. Reach out to me on Twitter. My username is @msetchell, that's SETCHELL. And if you're interested in any IT support or working with us at all, you can find out more about Lords IT at Lords Support on Twitter or lordsit.org.uk. It's LOURDES. So great to meet you all. Hope you all found it useful, and speak to you soon.